Ambassador Jack Morrison walked into the grand meeting hall of the Galactic Council. His brown shoes clicked on the shiny metal floor. The hall was huge, with walls that went up so high you could barely see the ceiling. Hundreds of different alien species sat in rows that curved around the center stage. Jack's blue suit felt tight around his shoulders. He had worn it to every peace talk for the past 3 years. 3 long years of listening to demands. 3 years of giving up more and more while getting nothing back. Behind him walked Lisa Bennett, his assistant. She carried a tablet computer and looked worried. Her short black hair was neat, as always, but her brown eyes showed she hadn't slept much. "Sir, they're not going to like what you're about to say," Lisa whispered. Jack didn't turn around. "I know." The Vectari delegate stood up. He was 8 feet tall with gray skin and 4 arms. His voice boomed across the hall. "Today we present our final requirements for peace." Jack took his seat at the human delegation table. Around him sat 5 other humans. They all looked tired. The Vectari continued. "Earth must give us all quantum drive technology. No more secrets. You must also destroy half of your military ships. This will show you want peace." Whispers filled the hall. Many aliens nodded their heads, or whatever they had instead of heads. Lisa's tablet buzzed. She looked at it, and her face went pale. "Sir, it's a message from President Hayes. He says we should." "I know what he says," Jack cut her off. He had already talked to the president that morning. The council chairman, a huge jellyfish-like creature floating in a water tank, spoke next. "Does Earth agree to these terms?" Jack stood up slowly. At 60 years old, he felt every year in his bones. He had spent his whole career trying to make peace, but sometimes peace wasn't possible. "For 3 years, Earth has come to these talks in good faith," Jack began. His voice was calm but strong. "We have shared our medical knowledge. We have sent peacekeepers to stop wars. We have given our food to hungry worlds." The hall grew quiet. Everyone watched him. "In return, you have treated us like servants. You take our help but give no respect. You make demands but offer nothing." The Vectari delegate's gray skin turned darker. "Humans are new to space. You should be grateful we even allow you here." Jack felt his jaw tighten. He thought of Earth, of the 8 billion people counting on him. He thought of the human colonies on Mars and the Moon, and the ships exploring distant stars. "Grateful." Jack's voice stayed level. "We discovered space travel on our own. We built our ships with our own hands. We earned our place here." The chairman's tentacles waved. "Ambassador Morrison, please answer. Will Earth accept these terms?" Jack looked around the hall. He saw contempt in many alien eyes. They thought humans were weak because humans tried to be fair. They were wrong. "No," Jack said simply. The hall erupted in noise. Aliens shouted in a dozen languages. The translation devices struggled to keep up. Jack raised his hand for silence. Surprisingly, he got it. "Furthermore," he continued, "the United Earth government withdraws from all peace negotiations, effective immediately." Lisa gasped behind him. The other human delegates stood up, gathering their things. The chairman's water tank bubbled furiously. "You cannot do this. The council forbids it." Jack smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "Watch us." He turned and walked toward the exit. His team followed. As they reached the huge doors, the Vectari shouted, "You'll regret this, humans. You need us." Jack paused at the doorway. He didn't turn around. "No, you need us. You just don't know it yet." The doors closed behind them with a soft hiss. In the hallway, Lisa looked at him with wide eyes. "Sir, what happens now?" Jack straightened his tie. Now we go home. And we wait." Behind them, the Galactic Council descended into chaos. But Jack Morrison didn't look back. Sometimes, the only way to win was to stop playing the game. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours, every human ship received the same message. Return to Earth space immediately. Admiral Ryan Cooper stood on the bridge of the U.S. Liberty. The massive warship floated in the neutral zone between human and alien space. Ryan was a tall man with gray hair and steady hands. He had commanded this ship for 5 years, keeping peace between species that had hated each other for centuries. Captain Amy Foster approached him. She was younger, with red hair tied back in a tight bun. "Admiral, we're getting demands from the Council. They want us to stay in position." Ryan read the message on his screen. The aliens were panicking. "Good. How many human ships are in foreign space right now?" he asked. Amy checked her tablet. 312, sir. Peacekeepers, traders, science vessels. Order them all home. Every single one. Amy hesitated. "Sir, if we leave, the Draknari and the Selfie will start fighting again. We're the only thing keeping them apart." Ryan turned to face her. "That's not our problem anymore, Captain." On Earth, President William Hayes sat in the Oval Office. The room felt smaller than usual, packed with advisors and generals. William was in his 50s, with kind eyes that could turn hard when needed. Right now, they were hard. "Mr. President," said General Susan Miller, "all human forces are withdrawing as ordered. We expect everyone home within 2 weeks." William nodded. "And the economic impact?" Treasury Secretary Charles Brown cleared his throat. "We're cutting all trade immediately. No more human medicine to alien worlds. No more quantum processors. No more food shipments." "They'll feel it quickly," William said. "Yes, sir. Within days for some items. Weeks for others." The door opened and Press Secretary Gloria Martinez entered. "Sir, it's time for your address." William stood and straightened his tie. "Let's tell our people what's happening." Across Earth and its colonies, billions of humans watched their screens. President Hayes appeared, sitting behind his desk. "My fellow humans," he began. "Today, we took a stand. For too long, we have given the galaxy our best while being treated as its worst. That ends now." In Tokyo, a family watched together. In Lagos, office workers gathered around screens. On Mars, miners stopped their work to listen. "We are recalling all our people. We are closing our borders. We will trade with none who do not respect us." The president's voice grew stronger. "We do not seek conflict, but we will no longer accept disrespect. Earth stands alone, and Earth stands strong." Meanwhile, in alien markets across the galaxy, the first signs appeared. A Zephyrian merchant discovered his shipment of human antibiotics had been canceled. A Vectari hospital realized their human-made surgical equipment wouldn't be replaced. On the planet Kepler-7, alien traders gathered in the marketplace. Bob Chen had run a shop there for 10 years, selling Earth goods. Now he was packing up. "You can't leave," squeaked a small, furry Altarian. "We need your products." Bob sealed another box. "Sorry, friend. Orders are orders. But what about my customers? They depend on human grain." Bob shrugged. "Should have thought about that before your leaders insulted us." Back on the U.S. Liberty, Communications Officer Eric Olson reported, "Admiral, we're getting hundreds of messages. Alien colonies begging us to stay." Ryan watched the stars through the view screen. "Ignore them. Set course for Earth." "Sir," Amy said quietly, "the Selfie ambassador is asking for a private channel. He sounds desperate." "No exceptions, Captain. We're done being everyone's babysitter." The great human fleet began to move. One by one, ships turned toward home. Behind them, alien vessels watched helplessly. Some tried to follow, but human ships were faster. In the council chambers, Chairman Vorgath floated in his tank, watching the human seats sit empty. His aide approached nervously. "Chairman, the humans are really leaving. All of them." "They'll be back," Vorgath said, but his voice lacked confidence. "They need us." His aide said nothing, but privately, he wondered if the chairman was wrong. very wrong. 3 months passed like a bad dream for the galaxy. Without human peacekeepers, old fights started again. Without human traders, shelves sat empty. Without human diplomats, nobody could agree on anything. The Galactic Council met every week, but the meetings were disasters. The huge hall echoed with angry voices and bitter arguments. Chairman Vorgath floated in his tank, his tentacles drooping with exhaustion. Order. We must have order. He called out, but nobody listened. The Zephyrian ambassador, Crixtel, stood on his 6 insect-like legs. His compound eyes reflected the chaos around him. The border between our space and the Altarians is burning. 17 colonies are under attack. Then defend them yourselves, shouted the Altarian delegate, a bird-like creature with bright blue feathers. We managed before the humans came. No, we didn't. Crixtel clicked his mandibles in frustration. We were killing each other. The humans stopped that. Chairman Vorgath waved his tentacles. We are civilized beings. We don't need human help to keep peace. But his words sounded hollow, even to himself. Far from the council chambers, space pirates grew bold. Captain Gresh, a reptilian Vorthan, attacked 3 merchant ships in 1 week. Before, human patrol ships would have stopped him. Now, nobody came. The space lanes are ours again. Gresh hissed to his crew. No more human warships to fear. On Luna Base, humanity's military headquarters on Earth's moon, General Susan Miller studied reports on huge screens. The command center buzzed with activity. Officers monitored alien communications, tracking the growing chaos. Colonel Paul Adams entered, carrying a tablet. General, the Draknari just invaded 2 selfie systems. No declaration of war, just straight invasion. Susan didn't look surprised. What about the Mutual Defense Treaty? Nobody to enforce it, ma'am. The other species are too scared to interfere. Susan walked to the window, looking at Earth hanging in the black sky. They're learning what we meant to them. Should we do something? Paul asked. People are dying out there. Not our people, Susan replied. They made their choice. Now they live with it. In the markets of Proxima Station, empty shelves told their own story. Merchant Zector stared at his bare storage rooms. For 50 years, he had sold human electronics to half the galaxy. Now he had nothing. A customer entered, a tall celestial with glowing skin. Do you have any human medical scanners? No, Zector sighed. Nothing from Earth for 3 months now. But my hospital needs them. Our equipment is failing. Zector spread his 4 arms helplessly. Then fix it yourself. That's what the Council told humans to do, remember? Back on Earth, the economy boomed. Factories that once made products for aliens now serve human colonies. Scientists who shared knowledge freely now kept their discoveries secret. Dr. Patricia Kumar worked in her lab in New Delhi. Her team had just finished testing new quantum shields. They were 10 times stronger than anything else in the galaxy. Her assistant, young Dr. James Park, looked excited. Should we publish the results? The scientific community would be amazed. Patricia shook her head. The galactic scientific community, the same one that called human science primitive last year. But sharing knowledge helps everyone, James protested. They should have thought of that before, Patricia replied. This stays on Earth. In Council space, the situation worsened daily. The Universal Translation Network started failing. Humans had maintained it for free. Now, nobody knew how to fix it. Trade routes became dangerous. Insurance companies stopped covering shipments. Food prices tripled. Medicine became scarce. On the planet New Singapore, Governor Sarah Kim watched refugee ships arrive. Aliens fleeing war zones, looking for safety that no longer existed. Ma'am, her aide reported, we have requests for asylum from 3 different species. Sarah felt sympathy but shook her head. Earth's borders are closed. Send them away. But they're desperate. They weren't desperate when they were insulting us at the Council. Actions have consequences. The galaxy was learning a hard truth. Humans hadn't forced their help on anyone. They had offered it freely. And now, with that offer withdrawn, the cost of arrogance became clear. Very, very clear. The first real war started over something small. A mining station in the Kepler sector, sitting on an asteroid full of rare metals. Both the Drachnary Empire and the Celestial Hegemony claimed it was theirs. Before, human arbitrators would have solved this in days. Now, there was nobody to talk to. Nobody both sides trusted. The Drachnary sent warships. The Celestials sent their own. Within hours, they were shooting at each other. The mining station exploded, killing everyone aboard. Neither side got the medals. Both sides blamed the other. In Vancouver, Dr. Kevin John watched the news from his living room. For 20 years, he had been Earth's chief negotiator. He had stopped dozens of wars just like this one. Now he sat at home, retired by government order. His daughter Emma, 16 years old, sat beside him. "Dad, why don't we stop them? People are dying." Kevin turned off the screen. "Because they didn't want our help, Emma. They said we were too young, too primitive to understand their complex politics." "But you do understand," Emma protested. "Yes, and they knew it. They just didn't want to admit it." The war spread like a disease. The Drachnary's allies joined them. The Celestials called on old defense pacts. Within 2 weeks, half the galaxy was choosing sides. On the bridge of the Vectari flagship, Commander Grektor watched the tactical display with growing alarm. Red dots showed enemy positions. There were too many. "Sir," his navigation officer reported, "the Zephyrians have closed their borders. We can't use their jump gates." Grektor's gray skin paled. "But we have a treaty." "They say the treaty required human witnesses to be valid. No humans, no treaty." The commander slammed his fist on his command chair. The humans. Always the humans. Even in their absence, everything led back to them. On Mars, in the underground cities, life continued normally. Engineer Maria Rodriguez worked on the new fusion reactors. They were 3 generations ahead of anything aliens had. Her colleague, Sam Taylor, looked up from his calculations. "You know, we could sell this technology. Make a fortune." Maria laughed. "To who?" "The aliens who said we were too primitive to sit at the big table." "Things have changed," Sam pointed out. "They're desperate now." "Good," Maria said simply. "Let them be desperate." The galactic economy crashed completely in week 6 of the war. Banks failed. Currencies became worthless. The interstellar stock exchange shut down after losing 90% of its value. Food riots started on overcrowded worlds. Without human grain shipments, billions faced starvation. Hospitals closed as medical supplies ran out. The plague outbreaks began soon after. In the council chambers, emergency sessions achieved nothing. Half the member species had recalled their ambassadors to fight in the war. The universal translator failed completely during one crucial meeting, leaving delegates shouting in languages nobody else understood. Chairman Vorgath floated alone in his tank more often now. His aide, Zethar, found him there one evening. "Chairman, perhaps it's time to consider." "Consider what?" Vorgath's voice was tired. "Asking the humans to return." The chairman's tentacles writhed. They were newcomers, children compared to us. We have thousands of years of civilization. And yet, Zethar said quietly, without them, we're falling apart. On Earth's space stations, defensive weapons tracked every ship that came too close. The new quantum shields shimmered like soap bubbles, impossible to penetrate. Admiral Ryan Cooper received daily reports about the Galactic War. He shared them with President Hayes in secure video calls. "They're destroying themselves," Ryan reported. "The Vectari homeworld is under siege. 3 species have gone extinct in border conflicts." President Hayes nodded grimly. "Any threats to Earth?" "None. They're too busy fighting each other. Keep our borders sealed. Not one ship gets through." As the galaxy burned, Earth grew stronger. Humanity had turned inward, focusing on their own advancement. They watched the chaos outside like students observing an experiment. The great unraveling had begun, and it was only getting worse. Chairman Vorgath floated in his private chamber, staring at the reports floating in holographic displays around him. Every number told the same story. Disaster. Complete, total disaster. His tentacles drooped as he read. 37 systems engaged in active warfare. Trade down 95%. 40 billion beings facing starvation. Medical crisis on 100 worlds. The door chimed. His aide Zethar entered, his young face showing fear. Chairman, the Vectari ambassador requests an urgent meeting. Vorgath sighed, bubbles rising in his tank. Send him in. Ambassador Grektor entered, his gray skin now almost white with stress. His 4 arms hung limply at his sides. Chairman, my government has ordered me to admit something. Speak, Vorgath said tiredly. Grektor's voice cracked. We were wrong. About the humans. About everything. The word hung in the chamber like smoke. Wrong. The mighty Vectari, admitting they were wrong. My homeworld burns, Grektor continued. Our enemies advance daily. Our allies abandon us. And do you know what my people say in the shelters? They say, if only the humans were here. On Alphira Prime, the Zephyrian homeworld, Queen Crixtel faced her council. Her compound eyes reflected their desperation. Your Majesty, her defense minister clicked. We've lost contact with 7 colony worlds. The pirates control all nearby space routes. What about our fleet? Crixtel asked. Half destroyed. Half protecting what's left of our territory. The Queen's antennae drooped. The humans kept the pirates away with just 2 patrol ships. 2. We have 50 warships and can't protect a single trade route. Her chief advisor stepped forward. Your Majesty, perhaps we should consider contacting the humans. Crixtel finished. With what? We told them they were too primitive to understand galactic politics. We laughed at their simple solutions. She stopped. The truth was too painful. In the ruins of what was once the galaxy's busiest trading post, Merchant Zektor picked through debris. The station had been beautiful once. Now it was scrap metal and broken dreams. A fellow merchant, a furry Altarian, joined him in the wreckage. Remember when the humans ran security here? The Altarian asked. Zektor nodded. Not one robbery in 10 years. They left and pirates took it in 3 days. We called them brutal. Said their methods were too harsh. Their methods worked, Zektor said bitterly. Ours don't. On the planet New Geneva, where the Galactic Court once stood, Judge Velkan of the Proximan species sat in his empty courtroom. Dust covered the seats. No cases had been heard in months. His assistant entered. Sir, the Drachnary celestial war crimes. Who will judge them? Velkan laughed, a hollow sound. No one. The humans were our best judges. Fair, impartial, impossible to bribe or threaten. We said they were too young to understand justice. What did we really mean, sir? We meant they made us look bad. They solved in minutes what took us years. They saw simple solutions where we created complex problems. The assistant was quiet, then asked, were we jealous, sir? Velkan nodded slowly. Jealous. Proud. Stupid. All of those. Back in the council chambers, more empty seats appeared daily. The Altarians had withdrawn. The Proxima delegation had fled. The Arcturians hadn't been heard from in weeks. Vorgath called what remained of the council to session. Only 12 species answered. Once there had been 40. Fellow delegates, he began, his voice heavy. We must acknowledge truth. Our civilization is collapsing. Silence filled the chamber. Without human food, billions starve. Without human medicine, plagues spread. Without human peacekeepers, we slaughter each other. Without human wisdom. He couldn't finish. The truth was too painful. The Vectari delegate stood. For the first time in their species' history, he bowed his head. We saw their kindness as weakness, their compromise as cowardice, their patience as stupidity. Others nodded, their various appendages showing agreement. We were fools, Vorgath finally said. Arrogant, blind fools. The realization had come at last. But was it too late? The jump gates started failing first. The massive rings of metal and energy that allowed ships to travel between stars flickered and died. Human engineers had maintained them for decades. Now, nobody knew how. Captain Sarah Jones of the cargo ship Stellar Wind watched her navigation screen flash red warnings. She was a Tyrellian, a species that lived on trade between worlds. Captain, her navigator called out, "Jump Gate 77 Alpha is offline. We're stranded." Sarah felt her blue skin pale. Send a distress signal. To who? The nearest rescue station was run by humans. It's been empty for 5 months. Across the galaxy, ships found themselves trapped in empty space. Trade stopped completely. Isolated colonies lost all contact with their homeworlds. The Universal Translation Network was next. The system that let thousands of species understand each other began breaking down. Words turned to static. Meanings became lost. In an emergency council meeting, delegates tried to speak but couldn't understand each other. The Vectari ambassador spoke in his harsh native tongue. The Zephyrian clicked and buzzed. The Altarian chirped wildly. Chairman Vorgath's translator managed one last message before failing. "Can anyone understand me?" Silence. Then chaos as everyone shouted in languages nobody else knew. On the frontier world of New Europa, human colonist Maria Rodriguez watched alien refugees arrive daily. They came in broken ships, fleeing wars and starvation. "Please," begged a selfie family at the colony gates. Their feathered children looked starved. Just food. Just water. Maria felt her heart ache. She had food. The human colonies had plenty. But orders were orders. "I'm sorry," she told them. "Earth's borders are closed." Her husband, John Williams, stood beside her. He watched the alien children cry. "This feels wrong," he whispered. "I know," Maria replied. "But they did this to themselves." Did the children? Maria had no answer for that. The infrastructure collapse accelerated. Power grids failed. Water purification systems broke down. The carefully balanced ecosystems of artificial worlds began to die. On Space Station Harmony Point, Commander Thekval of the Draknari watched his life support readings drop. The station had been home to 10,000 beings. Now only 100 remained. "Sir," his engineer reported, "main power coupling has failed. We don't have replacement parts." "Where did we get parts before?" "Earth, sir. They made components that lasted decades. Ours last months." Thekval closed his 3 eyes. "How long do we have?" 2 days, maybe 3. The galactic banking system vanished overnight. Digital currencies became worthless numbers. Physical money meant nothing when there was nothing to buy. On Luna Base, General Susan Miller watched the galactic collapse through spy satellites and monitoring stations. She stood in the war room with other human commanders. "The Arcturian homeworld has gone dark," reported Colonel Paul Adams. "No communications for 6 days. Civil war. Unknown. Could be complete infrastructure failure." General Miller nodded. "What about threats to human space?" "None, Mom. They're too busy dying to attack us." The room was quiet. Watching a galaxy die wasn't easy, even when that galaxy had rejected them. "General," a young officer spoke up. "Some of them are begging for help, sending messages, offering anything we want." "Orders haven't changed," Miller replied. "We stay isolated." But her voice lacked its usual strength. The breakdown reached its peak when the celestial hegemony, one of the oldest spacefaring civilizations, sent its final transmission. "To any who can hear this," the message said, "our worlds are failing. Our people are dying. We were wrong. The humans were not primitive. We were. They built things to last. We built things to impress. They solved problems. We created complications. If any human hears this, we're sorry. We're so very sorry." The message repeated 3 times, then silence. The Galactic Council tried one more meeting. Only 5 delegates attended. They sat in the vast, empty chamber, unable to speak to each other, watching their civilizations crumble. The galaxy that had rejected humanity was dying, and everyone knew why. Ambassador Grektor stood on the observation deck of Sigma Prime, staring at Earth's empty embassy. The building had been sealed for 8 months. Its gardens had died. Its windows were dark. Behind him waited the remains of the Galactic Council. Only 9 delegates had made the journey. Some came in damaged ships held together with hope. Others had begged rides from the few functioning vessels left. "Are we ready?" asked the Zephyrian Queen Crick's telephone. Her once proud wings drooped. "No," Grektor admitted, "but we have no choice." They approached the embassy communication panel. Grektor's gray hand shook as he pressed the button. "Earth," he began, his voice cracking. "This is Ambassador Grektor of the Vectari. I speak for what remains of the Galactic Council." Silence. Earth's receivers were working. They just weren't answering. Grektor paused. The next word felt like swallowing poison. "We apologize." The word hung in space. Never in 10,000 years had the Vectari apologized to anyone. "We were wrong," he continued. "We treated you as inferiors when you were our equals. We took your kindness for weakness. We mistook your compromise for surrender." Still silence. Queen Crixtel stepped forward. "The Zephyrian Empire admits its errors. We mock your solutions as too simple. We were the simple ones, creating problems where none existed." One by one, the other delegates spoke. Each admission of guilt hurt more than the last. Each apology came from species that had thought themselves superior to humanity. "Please," Grektor finally begged, "respond, even if only to refuse us." On Earth, President William Hayes sat in the Situation Room with his cabinet. They watched the alien transmission on the main screen. "They sound sincere," said Secretary of State Michelle Carter. "Desperation makes everyone sincere," replied Defense Secretary Andrew Barnes. "Mr. President," said Science Advisor Dr. Jennifer Park, "our satellites show the true scale of their collapse. Billions are dying." William Hayes stood and paced the room. The weight of the galaxy sat on his shoulders. "They insulted us for years," he said, "called us primitive, treated us like servants." "Yes," Jennifer agreed, "but is this who we want to be? The species that watched a galaxy die?" The debate raged for hours. Some wanted to leave the aliens to their fate. Others argued for mercy. Finally, President Hayes made his decision. "Open a channel," he ordered. At Sigma Prime, the embassy communication panel crackled to life. The aliens froze, hardly daring to breathe. "This is Earth," came a voice. Not the president, just a communications officer. "We hear you." Grektor nearly collapsed with relief. "Thank you. Thank you for—" "We're not finished," the voice interrupted. "You say you're sorry. Words are cheap. What are you offering?" The delegates looked at each other. They had nothing. Their worlds were dying. Their technology was failing. Their pride was shattered. "Ourselves," Grektor said quietly. "We offer ourselves. As equals, as partners, as students, if you'll teach us." "You laughed at our methods," the Earth voice said coldly. "We were fools. You said we were too young to understand. We were the children." Long silence. "Then, Earth will consider your request. Wait for our decision." The channel closed. On Earth, the debate continued. In human colonies, citizens voted in emergency referendums. On Mars, miners argued in the tunnels. On Luna, soldiers discussed mercy versus justice. 3 days passed. The alien delegates camped outside the embassy, surviving on emergency rations. They slept in their ships. They waited. Finally, A figure appeared at the embassy doors, a human woman in a simple blue suit. She walked out slowly, looking at the alien delegates huddled like refugees. "I am Ambassador Patricia Stone," she said. "Earth has reached a decision." The aliens held their breath. "We will consider reopening relations, but things will be different now." "Anything," Grector said quickly. "Any terms?" Patricia smiled, but it wasn't warm. "We'll see. Follow me inside. It's time to talk." The embassy doors opened. Light spilled out. The aliens followed Ambassador Stone inside, heads bowed, pride forgotten. The humbling was complete. 6 months later, Ambassador Jack Morrison walked into the rebuilt Galactic Council chamber. The same room where he had walked out in anger now felt completely different. The seating had changed. Human delegates no longer sat at the edge. Their section occupied the center, with equal space and respect. Every species had agreed to the new arrangement without complaint. Jack looked older but walked with purpose. Behind him followed a team of human diplomats, scientists, and military advisors. They took their seats calmly, professionally. Chairman Vorgath still floated in his tank, but his tentacles moved with less arrogance. "Ambassador Morrison," he said respectfully, "the Council welcomes humanity's return." Jack nodded. "We return not as we were, but as we are now. I trust everyone has read the new treaty." Murmurs of agreement filled the chamber. Every delegate had studied the document carefully. The terms were fair but firm. Humanity would help, but as leaders, not servants. "Before we begin," Jack continued, "let me be clear. We withdraw not from spite, but to show you what we contributed. We return not from weakness, but from strength. Any species that cannot accept this should leave now." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. "Very well," Jack said. "Let's begin." Councillor Zura Peters, the new permanent human representative, stood next. She was young, brilliant, and direct. "First order of business: restoration of the jump gate network. Human engineers will repair and upgrade all gates. However, maintenance responsibility will be shared among all species. You will learn our methods." The Vectari delegate stood. "We accept. And we apologize again for our past arrogance." Similar apologies came from around the chamber. Each species took turns admitting their mistakes. It wasn't required by the treaty, but they did it anyway. Dr. Patricia Kumar presented the medical aid plan. "Human hospitals will reopen on all major worlds. We'll train your doctors in our methods. No more hoarding knowledge." The Altarian delegate chirped gratefully. "Thousands die daily from the plagues. Your help will save millions." "That's the point," Patricia said simply. General Ryan Cooper outlined the new peacekeeping structure. "Human forces will patrol the space lanes again, but each species must contribute ships and personnel. You'll learn our tactics, our discipline." "What about the pirates?" asked the Draknari commander. Ryan smiled grimly. "They've had 8 months of freedom. That ends tomorrow." The meeting continued for hours. Trade agreements, scientific cooperation, diplomatic protocols, everything was restructured. Humanity led each discussion, and the aliens listened carefully. During a break, young diplomat Alex Turner spoke with his mentor, Kate Morgan. "They're so different now," Alex observed. "So humble." Kate nodded. "Pain is a good teacher. They learned what we knew all along." "What's that?" "That cooperation beats domination. That respect is earned, not demanded. That strength comes from lifting others up, not pushing them down." As the session resumed, the Zephyrian Queen made an announcement. "The Zephyrian Empire wishes to present something to humanity." She produced a crystal sculpture showing human hands lifting a fallen galaxy. "We commissioned this from our finest artists. It will stand in our capital forever, reminding us of our debt to Earth." Jack Morrison accepted the gift graciously. "Thank you. But remember, we don't want your debt. We want your partnership." The treaty signing began. Each species signed eagerly, almost desperately. When the last signature was added, applause filled the chamber. Not the polite clapping of diplomats, but genuine relief and joy. That night, as human ships departed to begin their rescue missions, Jack Morrison stood on the observation deck with President Hayes via secure communication. "Think they've really learned?" the president asked. "Time will tell," Jack replied. "But yes, I think so. Sometimes you have to lose something to understand its value." Across the galaxy, human vessels emerged from Earth's space. They brought food to the starving, medicine to the sick, order to chaos. But more importantly, they brought hope. The stars looked different now. Not as obstacles to overcome, but as bridges to build. And humanity, finally respected, stood ready to lead the galaxy into a new age. The second galactic age had begun. An age of true partnership. An age of mutual respect. An age where humanity's greatest victory wasn't in conquering the stars, but in teaching them.